Hey there, and welcome to our mini class today on the three primary constitutions of dynamic iridology. So good to have you with me today. Now, again, this is a mini class, so it's going to be a real high-level overview, but it will give you a taste of what understanding these three primary constitutions can do for you in your holistic health coaching business. Now, we're a small group. We always are. This is a very niche target that we're looking at here, right? We're looking at health professionals who want to learn more about iridology. So that's a very tiny group. And because we are a very niche group, I encourage you to play with me in my sandbox. I hope you can all find the chat box and feel free to post questions and comments in there. Let's get started with finding that chat box. I would love to know where you are from. That's always fun to see how international this group is. So if you'll hit that chat box and just tell me where you're from, that will get us started. I'll give you just a moment to do that. Again, I value interaction. You will get more out of me the more you play with me in the chat box. And so if you want to get more than just total surface stuff, play with me here and let's have a conversation. Fantastic. We've got Farah from London. Lovely. Welcome, Farah. Good to have you with us. And we've got Maria from the Philippines. Maria, it's so good to see you again. And who else do we have? This is so good. And we've got Galaxy Note 9. I love that. From Belleville, Illinois. Welcome. Fantastic. Now, while you're typing things like that in, I would love to also know, what is your health background? Are you a registered nurse? Are you a chiropractor? Are you a herbalist? Are you an acupuncturist? We also have Melinda from Saskatchewan. Hi, Melinda. You're just the next province over. So good to meet you. I'd love to know what your background is, because that's going to tell me how deep and how technical I can go today. Right? If I know I've got a lot of people here who only have a vague understanding of their body, then I've got to keep it really surface light. If I know I've got people who've got anatomy and physiology already under their belt, we can go quite a bit darker. So let me know what your background is so that I can tailor make this to be what you need it to be today. And while you are doing that, let's just keep pressing forward, because we are on a timeline. We need to reiterate that this information is only meant for your education. This is not meant to diagnose. It's not meant to prescribe, and you are responsible for the results you get from using this information. And Galaxy Note 9 says she's in regenerative health, currently in school to get certified as a regenerative health practitioner and iridologist, graduating about a month. Fantastic. Welcome. You may find that what you learn here is very different from what you're learning in regenerative work, right? I know of many of the instructors who teach regenerative, and they teach iridology with that, and it's not what we teach here. So this is good. This is good for you to be expanding and playing with different things. We've got Farah, who's an optometrist. Fantastic. And professional in Islamic medicine practitioner, including iridology and sclerology. Welcome, Farah. That is just fantastic that you're an optometrist and you work with this. That is so good. So what is iridology? Iridology is the study of the iris of the eye. And from the health perspective, iridology is an assessment system that integrates not just the iris, but it also integrates the sclera and the pupil so that we understand a person's health. Now, as we look at this, we want to remember that the iris itself is inherent. So what we see in here, whether it's pigment or whether it's lines and the way fibers are sitting, everything we see in the iris is inherent. It's what has been passed down through the generations. It's what is making up this person's body. We look at the pupil, which has some inherent and some dynamic tendencies to it. And it teaches us again about how the body is working now. And we have the sclera, which tells us where the hot spots are, where are the places in the body that we need to be paying attention to now. So we've got 3 levels of information when we do iridology. We've got the area of the iris, which is about 95%, maybe more than that, genetic. We've got the pupil, which gives us some genetic and some dynamic information. And we've got the sclera, which is very, very dynamic and tells us what this body is doing now. So we've got what you've been blessed with and what you're doing with it, and the combination of what you've been blessed with and what you're doing with it all together. When we layer all of this together, it helps us to be able to work with our clients. When we do it, we can assess our clients more quickly and accurately. We can stop working unpaid overtime developing client programs. We can stop overwhelming our clients with over-the-top, undoable programs. And we can create programs that will create client compliance, success, and long-term retention. We can also create faster and deeper rapport with our clients. These are all really important aspects of iridology that many iridologists don't stop to consider. So many iridologists only think about the markings and the colors. They don't consider beyond that how this is a benefit. For you as a practitioner, when you know iridology, particularly constitutional iridology, you can actually see more clients in less time and without spending as much energy on it, and do an even better job than you already do now. That's going to increase your income without raising your fees. How would that be if you could see, say, 2 times more people in a day and not have to raise your fees at all, but you're increasing your income, but you're not spending any more extra time, right? So good. So good. So when you are ready to look for an iridology course, one of the things I want you to be very aware of is to check out who your instructor is and see what support they offer. Now, I say that very emphatically because most iridology instructors do not offer support beyond the course, right? And I know that because I get graduates from other courses coming asking if I will mentor them. And I will when they're enrolled in my program, but I don't have time to mentor other people's students. And so just a brief introduction of me. I've been, it's going to be one of those days with the voice. I started studying holistic health in 1979, and I've been a holistic practitioner since 1981. And in all of those years, I've studied several different styles of iridology, herbology, nutrition. I've been a certified childbirth educator. I've been many things in those years. And so as we go through today, I'm going to keep an eye on that question box, and I'm going to be watching for questions and comments from you. I will tell you that when I started way back 40 years ago, learning iridology, nutrition, and herbology, there wasn't a lot of coursework available. There were some books. There were fads in diets, just as there are now. Like back then, it was things like high carb, low fat. If you want to have energy, eat more carbs. Then there was, if you don't want to get fat, don't eat fat, right? And we just saw some really strange, bizarre diet fads that just didn't make sense and that created some significant imbalances. The original iridology I learned also was not solid. It was not solid. It made some claims that were not substantiated. It made some claims that I could never prove with my clients. And so just as I was about to leave iridology is when I learned that there was another way. I really tried, for example, to work with my clients with diets and supplements and lifestyle to get their eyes to change color. That was the goal. Let's get these extra pigments out of your eye. Let's clean up your eyes. And we were never successful with that. I even myself did some very high-powered cleanses trying to change my eye color, and it didn't work at all. But that was the beginning of setting me up to learn constitutional iridology. And as I learned constitutional iridology, and learned how to apply it in my practice, I got faster at doing assessments. The old way, I used to spend 2 or 3 hours of my own time writing an iridology report for my clients. Don't have to do that anymore. I found I was more accurate. I wasn't guessing. I wasn't saying, well, this mark means you have this problem, because, it often doesn't. And it creates better and faster rapport, because when we do iridology, the style I'm going to show you today, it teaches us how to laser in on the right questions to ask. And when you are asking the right questions, your client feels heard and understood. That is so important. And when you do this the right way, you don't need an intake form. A release form, yes. An informed consent form, absolutely. But a lengthy questionnaire, no way. Your clients don't like filling those out. I don't like wading through them. And so, we can just get rid of those completely. I am a level 3 IPA certified iridologist and instructor. Now, you look at the years on here, 2022 to 2024, and you go, she's only been at that for 2 years. No. IPA has us upgrade and renew our credentials every 2 years. And so this is my most recent set of badges stating that I have certified and maintained my credentials at the level 3 instructor. There are only 8 level 3 instructors in the world right now. For a long time, there was only about 3 or 4 of us, but we're up to 8 now. So that's pretty cool. I've written a lot of books that I self-published. They're all out of print now, except for the textbook that we use for the iridology program. And designed and taught a lot of courses. I'm also a nutrition professional in holistic nutrition and a professional member of the Alberta Herbalist Association. And I will actually be speaking at the Alberta Herb Gathering in August. They've asked me to present 2 workshops, one on iridology and one on women's health. So I'm pretty excited about that. All right, let's dive into the 3 constitutions. Now, when we're looking at this, it's really important to remember that when we're looking at an eye, we need to first consider, what does our client want help with? That is the most important question to find out first. Never look at an eye cold. You always want context, because when you understand how the body works, you will understand, and when you understand iridology at a very deep level, you will understand that you can actually, the way you interpret those markings can change based on what the client's symptoms are, right? So we have to have context. We need to understand the client's health history. We need to understand surgeries, medications, medical diagnoses. We need to understand their family health history, and we need to understand what their diet and their lifestyle is. Iridology is not a crystal ball, right? This isn't something where you just look at the person's eyes and tell them what's wrong with them. It helps us to connect things for them. All right, so we also need to layer up information, right? We never look at just one thing in the eye. We want to look at as many things as we can. And today we're only looking at one thing. Today we are only looking at the 3 primary constitutions. Those of you who've just joined us, please do say hello in the chat box. Love to see you there. All right, so this is a lymphatic iris. Now, the first thing you need to know is that with constitutional iridology, we rely very little on mapping. Mapping is the very last step, if we even need it then. We don't slice and dice and divide the body into minute bits and pieces. We are interested in, how does this body work as a whole? How do things connect? Because that's where the understanding comes from, right? Seeing one marking in one area doesn't give you the breadth of information you need to actually address that area. So we use mapping as usually the very last step, and we often don't even need to get to that, which saves us a ton of time. It means that I am not dissecting this eye for every little tiny pigment, for every little fiber that's doing something interesting, for every little shading, for every little gap. I'm not looking at it in that laser way for probably the first 3 or 4 appointments, and I may never need to get to that depth. Okay, so that's a really important thing. This is, again, a very clear example of a lymphatic iris. So a lymphatic iris will always have some blue. It does not need to be entirely blue like this, but it needs to have some blue. And we need to see some fiber in this. We might have other colors. We might even have fairly heavy washes of color, which we don't have in this eye. But the fact that we see some blue and we have some fiber visible means this is a lymphatic eye. So as we're looking at the lymphatic eye, here's what we know. Again, this is that 30,000-foot overview. Their common health concerns will usually circle around, and let me put that one more way. The places we typically see more health problems and health symptoms with our lymphatic people are mucous membranes, the acid levels in their body. That does not mean stomach acid, that means tissue acid, and their lymphatic system. Those are our 3 places where we typically see challenges. And so when we're looking at an eye like this, and our client has given us what I call the shopping list of all the symptoms they want help with, the next thing I'm thinking is, how does those symptoms tie into the possibility of this person having too much acid throughout their body? You know, a simple way to ask questions here would be to ask this person, is there a personal or family history of asthma, allergies, arthritis, eczema, psoriasis, kidney issues? Those are some very common high acid conditions that a lot of blue-eyed people have. So again, I'm not looking for tiny details. Literally taking a step back, what is the overall constitution of the eye? And in this case, it's lymphatic. I may come back to these markings later if I need them, but initially that's not where we're at when we are talking about a primary constitution. So when we see markings, we need to remember that, for example, there may not be, the client may have a condition with their lungs. They might have a lung symptom. There may not I apologize for that. My internet just kicked out for a moment. Thank you for being patient with the technical issues. My goodness, you know, we love tech, don't we? Sometimes it's a little frustrating, but there we go. We are back, and thank you for being back. You're connected to that. You know, we could be things like, just let me come back here. Again, this is not behaving itself all the way. Okay, I just need someone to pop in the chat box. Can you hear me? Farah or Yolanda, can you hear me? Yes. Okay, fantastic. It has, for some reason, deleted my participant list from my screen. So yeah, I feel like I'm flying a little bit blind right now. All right. So again, this is where anatomy and physiology comes in. And this is why I am so adamant that all of my students have an anatomy and physiology course under their belt, not just a lot of reading, not just a lot of experience, but an actual course, because lung symptoms can tie into poor digestion, can tie into congested lymphatics, can tie into skin being congested as well, can tie into poor elimination through the bowel. And we need to be able to tie all of that together with many of our clients. So when I'm looking then at some eyes and I'm seeing whatever I'm seeing, I need to be able to take this lymphatic eye, see it in the context of what are my client's symptoms? What do I see in the iris that teaches me about their genetic predisposition? Do I see anything in the sclera that talks about their dynamic predisposition? And do I see anything in the pupil shape that confirms things as well? So we're looking for what I call triangulation. We're looking for several markers pointing in the same direction, using the iris as the foundation that we're building on. Is this making sense? If this is making sense, give me a makes sense in the comments box. Fantastic, love it. Here's another beautiful example of a lymphatic iris, and you're going, but that's not a blue eye. Remember, there are many shades of blue, and in this case, this is a dark gray, sort of steel gray blue, right? It's more gray than anything. We've got lots of other color washes happening over top of it, but the fact that we've got that bit of steel gray blue and we've got fiber means this is definitely a lymphatic iris. Okay, so if you think you've got a lymphatic iris of any kind where you can see any blue and any fiber, let me know in the comments box. Just give me the word lymphatic and let me know. Now, remember that our lymphatic people are a little more predisposed to thyroid issues. Okay, even when there are no indicators in the thyroid reaction field to say that genetically there is a problem, we know that our lymphatic people have a stronger predisposition towards thyroid and parathyroid, right? Think it through. If the person is running too acidic, they're going to throw all their calcium towards neutralizing the acid. And that's going to cause stress for the thyroid, which is supposed to be regulating the calcium going into the bones, thyroid and parathyroid, right? So you want to ask questions about family history of thyroid and parathyroid. Our goal here isn't to use iridology as some kind of a crystal ball. It's not a party game. It isn't a game of guess what's wrong with me or tell me what you see. That is demeaning iridology to nothing better than a party game. It really is. And so we need to keep this at the level that it belongs at. Constitutional iridology is about understanding the constitution of the person so we can understand where they are less resilient and where they are more resilient, so that we can understand why their health is the way it is and guide them towards better overall health. So along the way, the symptoms will subside. But the goal isn't just symptom mitigation, because that can be done with drugs, right? We actually want to rebalance the body's health, and we want to improve their health. The goal is also not to change their eye color. That matters not one little bit. The goal is to improve how their body works so that they can enjoy better health for a longer time. So again, when we're looking at a lymphatic eye, we're looking for someone who's got any shade of blue poking through, can be just a little bit, and we need to see fiber. These people are prone to elevated acid in their tissues, which will often show up as things like asthma, allergies, arthritis, skin, and kidney complaints. And we know that one of the key things we're going to probably need to do with them is to do dietary corrections and herbs and supplements and even lifestyle work to keep their acid in check, to teach them how to keep their acid nicely balanced. All right, so that is the tip of the iceberg on the lymphatic system. Now, we're going to look at biliary and hematogenic, but first I just wanted to share this. This is Sharon Bimrose. She's a naturopath in Australia. She came to me already having taken iridology as a part of her naturopathy program. She wasn't feeling as confident as she wanted to feel. So she took the Dynamic Iridology program, and she says it surpassed her previous training in structure, content, delivery, documentation, and support. Iridology has certainly reduced the time required for prioritizing a treatment plan, and it's been a huge game changer to her practice. And I see that a lot. For those of you who've already studied with another instructor, if you're not feeling confident, then the Dynamic Iridology program is likely for you, because we can refine what you know and help you develop your confidence. If you have not studied iridology at all, you have no formal training in it, this program is still for you, because we start everybody at ground zero. We start right at the beginning foundations and build from there. Let's look at the hematogenic type. Now, when we talk about hematogenic, what do you think about? What does this word make you think of? Want to see some answers in the chat box. What does the word hematogenic make you think of? Galaxy says blood. Anyone else want to weigh in on this? Give you just a second. Okay. Well, and Galaxy is right. It is blood. And so here's what we want to know about our hematogenic people. Their eyes will be brown and gold, but you will not see any visible fibers radiating outwards in their eye. There is enough pigment in their eye that it is veiling all of the fiber structure. And so we also won't see any blue or any green. So if we have no blue, no green, and no fibers, then we know we are looking at a hematogenic eye. For these people, their key area of concern first is blood, and actually the other first, there's two of them, is liver. And so we want to be paying attention to their health concerns, their health complaints, from the perspective of how could liver and how could blood be involved with this? What is the tie-in? And so here's another beautiful hematogenic eye. Now you'll notice we see some structure here. We go, well, I thought we weren't going to see any fiber. We won't see the fiber threads radiating outwards, but sometimes, as in with this eye, the fiber structure is so bold that the pigment can't hide these interesting little petal shapes that are in here. And so that would be sort of an exception to the rule. There's not a lot of hematogenic eyes that look like this. There are some, so you just need to be aware that you can see those. The areas that we are likely to see, if we're going to break this down, that we are likely to see, trouble, or more likely to see some challenges. We want to be thinking here about the spleen and the stomach and the circulation. And in circulation, we're meaning heart as well. Okay, so it's heart and circulation. We might see more varicose veins. If you know your TCM, you know that the liver has a huge responsibility for varicose veins. We might see some pH issues where these people tend to be a little too alkaline. And so we might need to help them build their acid in order to help them assimilate minerals well. Because their minerals tend to be a little bit loosey-goosey, if you will, we often will see a bigger predisposition towards endocrine and metabolic imbalances. So depending on the symptoms or the imbalances that your client wants help with, you might want to ask questions based on their eyes, like, is there a personal or family history of blood imbalances? allergies, because that would be liver involvement. Hormonal issues, again, that's liver involvement. Blood lipid imbalances, including cholesterol, again, liver involvement. Weight issues, often the liver plays a key role in that. Now, you wouldn't necessarily ask all those questions. Choose the questions that are relevant to your client, right? Only ask questions that are relevant. Otherwise, you might as well just give them the paper questionnaire and have them spend 20 minutes filling out a bunch of nonsense, right? So now what I want to know in the chat box is, do you have hematogenic eyes? If you've got hematogenic eyes, give me hema in the chat box. If you've got brown eyes or brown with gold, but there's nothing else in there, there we go. There we go. Some of you have hema. And so when we are learning iridology, that's the very first step. We still are going to look at biliary, but we're also then going to learn ultimately about what all of these little shapes mean, so that when something is important, we'll know to pay attention to it. What does it mean when we see other colors in an eye? So here's a brown eye with some darker brown pigment. What do these creases mean coming around here? Right, so what do these little lines that are radiating outwards mean? What does it mean when we see a darker edge at the inside edge of the iris? So many things just in the iris. We learn that and so much more. We also learn, what does it mean when we see a different texture, not just a different color, but a different texture. This is what another one of my students said. She had already studied with David Pesek and with Darko Purse. And she said, this is the most amazing iridology course I've taken. Judith's course is top on my list. This is Michelle Davies. She's a CNP and an RNCP, and I think she's a herbalist as well now. So Judith's course is very complete, as it contains the most accurate iridology, including sclerology, and most importantly, how to put it all together to make a very proper, or to make an assessment. I feel very confident now in my nutritional practice. Love that. So again, someone who came to me well-trained, and we were able to help her reorganize it and pull it together. So it wasn't just information. Now it was a practical skill. Here's our biliary type. You're looking at this eye and you're likely thinking, that looks like hematogenic. What is one of the key differences you see between this and the hematogenic eyes that we've looked at? Can you see a difference in the iris? If you can, let me know in the chat box. What is a key difference you see between this and the eyes that we saw? Very nice. Very nice. Okay. Galaxy landed on it right off the top. So we can call it a mixed color. We want to go beyond that. There's a little bit of green that can have an impact here. When we're looking for biliary, what we're looking for very specifically is there's no blue, but we do see fiber. And what that means is we don't have as much pigment in the eye veiling the fiber structure. So we can see here that we do have fibers radiating outwards. We can't see them everywhere. There are some places where the fiber is too dense, and so we don't see it in the superior aspects of this iris, but certainly in the inferior, we do. Now, this is the iris type that trips up most iridologists. And truthfully, it tripped me up for years. And then I took my constitutional teacher and I said, okay, we got to make this so it's easy to understand, because I'm not getting it. And so he really worked with me, and we came up with biliary has no blue and it does have fiber. So those are some pretty good basic rules of thumb that are very reliable that you can follow here. When you're looking at this eye without magnification, so let's say you're just looking at a friend face to face, and their face is just a few inches from yours, you might not see these fibers very clearly, and you might call this a hematogenic eye, which is not correct, of course. When we add magnification, we begin to see the fibers, and when we add the right kind of light and magnification, it also makes it much easier for us to see. Most biliary eyes will also have a darker area, a darker ring towards the middle of the eye. And you can see we've got this dark band right in here. This is very common in a biliary eye. So when we talk about biliary, what does that word make you think of? What does biliary make you think of? Let you have some lightning finger moments here to tell me what you're thinking. Gallbladder can be a part of this, yeah, because of bile. Where does bile originate? Where does bile originate? What is the organ that makes the bile? It's the liver, absolutely. So when we're talking about biliary, the key organ of concern here is going to be primarily liver, although these people they kind of get the worst of both worlds because they get the liver aspect from the hematogenic side, and they also will have often some of the lymphatic traits. And so when we are working with these people that are biliary, and again, we've got the fibers poking through back here, we've got the darker brown towards the center, which is very classic. We are going to be asking about digestive issues, which could include how well do you digest fats? Some people won't know that. You might have to get creative how you describe that. And stomach issues. So how are they digesting food at the stomach level? We need to remember that the liver does over 500 different jobs. And that's another reason why I need my students to have anatomy and physiology, because if you don't understand even the first 5 or 6 of those jobs really well, you're going to get lost here. So liver does things like immune, has huge roles for immune. It balances your lipids in your body. It helps to balance your blood sugar. It works with the pancreas on that. It balances your triglycerides. It makes your triglycerides. It's responsible for allergies, a lot of your allergy responses. It also stores iron. It's responsible for phase 1 and phase 2 detox, and you need to understand what those are so that you can understand where detoxification might be getting jammed up. When people say the liver is a filter, that is very wrong. The liver isn't a filter. A filter makes it sound like it's a sieve and things go through it, but some things get trapped in it. That is so incorrect. The liver doesn't filter anything. It detoxifies and it denatures and it builds things for us. So it's a very busy organ. We also, with the biliary type, do want to know about gallbladder. And so oftentimes with these people, we need to be aware, have they had gallbladder surgery? Have they ever been diagnosed with gallbladder? And then we want to understand the emotion of the liver and the emotion of the gallbladder. The biliary type often always needs to have questions asked about the pancreas. Again, we always think about blood sugar balance when we're thinking about pancreas, right? We think pancreas, diabetes, blood sugar, insulin. But we also need to remember that the pancreas creates enzymes that complete the digestion of carbohydrates even before we get to where insulin is required for assimilation of the glucose into the cells, right? So we need to be aware of how the pancreas and the liver work together. And when we know that, we can then take our client's symptoms and understand why they have these symptoms. How are you doing with this? Is this making sense? If this is making sense, give me an oh yeah in the comments box. Oh yes, it's Farah. Excellent. So what I want to know next, while you're giving me the oh yeahs, is what is the biggest thing you've learned so far together in our half hour or so that we've been together? What is the biggest thing you've learned? And just while you're doing that, I want to share what another one of my students said. This is Karen, and she is a CNHP. She specializes in gut health. She says she just returned from a regenerative detoxification course where iridology is implemented. I spread the word about what a wonderful teacher you are. Most people I talked with did not have anywhere near the same experience with their iridology education. They had no support, unanswered questions, and a lot of confusion. Mostly they finished their classes not knowing how to implement what they had learned. I feel so absolutely blessed to have been taught by you. I feel totally supported, even still, as I've graduated almost 5 years now ago. I don't think there's anyone out there practicing, educating, and teaching iridology like you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Then I asked her, how has learning this helped her in her business? That's what you're after this for, right? You may want information for your own health and for your family, but as a holistic health coach, you really want this for your business. You want to know, how can this help you with your business? How can it help you help your clients? Karen says, iridology has helped me to understand the relationship between different organs and organ systems more in depth. Iridology also gives me an advantage of seeing the potential for different genetic traits and qualities that may be underlying. By observing the constitution, for example, you can extrapolate how the person's body will likely respond to applications of healing methods. Therefore, it has helped me to expand my knowledge and increased efficiency at providing more precise recommendations for health-oriented options. Fantastic. Now, if that's the kind of learning and support experience that gets you excited, and if you want to be able to do all of the things we mentioned at the beginning of our time together, and you also want to learn iridology at a professional level with full support, then we really need to talk. You and I each need to have a one-on-one session. The next start date of the Dynamic Iridology Assessment System is June the 8th. Class time will be from 4 o'clock to 6:15 Mountain Daylight Time, and registration is open. But here's the thing. I only ever accept 10 students in the course because I believe that small class sizes gives us a better educational experience. So if you're wondering if what you've seen today and leading into the course could be a good fit for you, and if you're a health professional or you have a college level anatomy and physiology course under your belt, and that's the key piece. When I talk about a health professional, it means you've got A and P already, right? You've got a college level, you can show a transcript that says you've got this class. Then we need to have a Zoom meeting. We need to talk about the course. We need to talk about your goals. We need to see if this course will help you reach your goals. And if it will, I will invite you to enroll. If I don't think it's a good fit, I won't invite you to enroll. And I will tell you that probably about 50% of the people I talk to book a call and they're not really ready for it. They're not really ready to get into the course, right? And so while you are, we can have a talk. We can see whether this is a good fit. Ferris says what she's learned today is to look at the overall status holistically based on the 3 constitution. Many thanks for your time and experience. You are welcome. You are welcome. So I would invite you now, if you are interested in learning iridology at a deeper level, and you want the kind of course that is going to give you support and mentorship, and you like the idea of it having a live instructor. I'm just trying to grab this URL for you in the chat box. Then let's schedule a time to talk. And I want you to know this is absolutely not any kind of a high pressure sales pitch. If it's not the right fit, it's not the right fit. And I don't want students in the class who've been strong-armed into anything, right? So it's really a chance for us to just talk and see how this rolls for you. So if you want to learn iridology, you want to learn the constitutions at a really deep level, what questions you ask, what are the common health problems, what are the kinds of things you can recommend for those problems or consider recommending. If you want to learn the different kinds of subtypes, if you want to learn what all the different markings mean and how they work together, and if you want to have supervised practice mentoring on how to do an analysis and how to create protocols for your clients, that's all the kinds of stuff we teach in this class, preparing you should you decide to certify with the International Iridology Practitioners Association. Alrighty, so questions about anything we've talked about today? I've typed that Zoom link to schedule, not Zoom link, the book a call, book a Zoom meeting to talk about the course into your chat box so that you can grab that and schedule a time for us to have a conversation. And yeah, and we can take it from there. That's your introduction to the very first three. The very first thing actually that you need to know to do iridology well, you have to understand the constitutions. And of course, there's much more to talk about with those as well. All right. Now, I don't think anyone's typing anything in now. I'm not seeing anything come in. So thank you so much for being with me today. And I know that was a real high level, quick overview of those three things. Again, what we've covered today is a full class. We flesh that out to be a full 2-hour class. That tells you how much more content there should be with this, or there is for this, in the Dynamic Iridology program. So there you go. Thank you so much for being with me today. And I look forward to speaking with you soon. Make it a healthy day. Bye for now.